Something has already shifted in the spirit realm, and if you felt an unexplainable heaviness lifting recently, that wasn't random. This message didn't find you by accident, and you didn't stumble upon these words because of an algorithm. You're here because God is pulling back the curtain, right now, tonight. The silence you've been sitting in, the waiting that felt endless, the questions that never got answers. Heaven has been watching it all. And today, something is being exposed that was hidden for far too long. You are not imagining the change. You are standing at the edge of a breakthrough that your enemies never thought you'd live to see. Let me say this clearly, because your soul needs to hear it without doubt or hesitation. You are a chosen one. Not chosen because you're perfect, not chosen because life was easy for you, but chosen because you endured what would have crushed others. There were seasons when you were misunderstood, misjudged, talked about behind closed doors by people who smiled in your face. There were moments when you asked God why it felt like everyone else was advancing while you were being stripped, delayed, and tested. You gave love and loyalty, and in return, you received betrayal, silence, and abandonment. Yet here you are, still breathing, still hoping, still listening. That alone tells me heaven has not finished with you. You've carried wounds you never spoke about, the kind of wounds that don't bleed outward but ache in the quiet hours of the night. You trusted people who took notes on your kindness instead of protecting your heart. You were faithful in places where others were manipulative. You stayed honest in environments fueled by envy and deception, and for a long time it looked like they were winning. It looked like the ones who lied, minimized you, or tried to erase your voice were getting ahead. But listen closely now. God never rewards appearances. He rewards the heart, and the season you're stepping into is proof of that. There were times when you felt isolated, as if your life was being paused while everyone else moved forward. That isolation wasn't punishment. It was protection. God was pulling you away because your next level couldn't handle the weight of toxic access. People who benefited from your pain were never meant to benefit from your purpose. And the reason the attacks intensified is because something powerful was forming inside you. Darkness only studies light when it's afraid of what that light will become. You see, what your enemies didn't understand is that every attempt to break you only refined your discernment. Every betrayal sharpened your wisdom. Every delay deepened your faith. While they were watching to see you fail, God was watching to see you grow. And you did. Quietly, painfully, faithfully. Heaven saw the nights you cried and still prayed. Heaven recorded every time you chose integrity over revenge, silence over drama, surrender over bitterness. Nothing was missed. Nothing was ignored. There's a reason people who once dismissed you can't stop watching you now. There's a reason conversations have gone quiet, messages have stopped, and energy has shifted around you. Exposure doesn't always come with noise at first. Sometimes it starts with unease, restlessness, a sudden fear in those who built their confidence on your downfall. God is beginning to lift the veil, and when truth starts surfacing, masks fall quickly. The same people who spoke boldly against you are now uncertain, defensive, and anxious. They sense what's coming even if they don't fully understand it. You were tested in hidden places because God trusted you with depth. Not everyone can survive obscurity without becoming bitter. Not everyone can be overlooked without becoming cruel. But you didn't. Even when your voice trembled, you kept believing. Even when promises felt delayed, you refused to give up completely. That's why this moment matters. That's why this message stirs something deep inside you. Your spirit recognizes divine timing when it arrives. Tonight isn't just another night, it's a turning point. The kind of night where agreements made against you begin to collapse. The kind of moment where lies start unraveling on their own. God has a way of exposing truth without you lifting a finger. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. You don't need to prove your purity. You don't need to fight battles that were never yours to begin with. Heaven is stepping in because you've endured long enough. And let's be honest, Part of you almost gave up hope. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. You kept going, but the fire felt dimmer some days. You wondered if doing the right thing even mattered anymore. You questioned whether faith was worth the cost. That doubt doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And God was never offended by your questions. He was present in them, patient, attentive, preparing a response through action, not words. What's coming next isn't just vindication, it's restoration, the kind that heals your nervous system, the kind that reminds you who you were before the wounds, the kind that shifts how people see you without you asking for recognition. Doors are about to open that no one can block because they're aligned with assignment, not approval. And the same ones who doubted you will witness what grace can do when it finally speaks. You're not behind. You were being arranged into position. You weren't rejected. You were redirected. And every tear you shed is about to make sense in ways you couldn't see at the time. God is exposing what harmed you, not to embarrass your enemies, but to free you completely, so you can walk forward without chains, without fear, without needing validation from those who never understood your calling. Breathe this in. Let it settle. You are exactly where you need to be for what's about to unfold. And this is only the beginning. You didn't arrive at this point by accident, and you didn't survive what you survived by coincidence. Every battle you walked through was a battleground you were never supposed to lose, even when it felt like you were bleeding out spiritually. You've been in wars that never made sense to your logical mind, seasons where the resistance felt disproportionate to who you were or what you were doing. It wasn't about what you did, it was about who you are. Certain people don't attack randomly, they attack what threatens them simply by existing, and your presence has always carried weight, even when you tried to shrink yourself to survive. You fought battles that didn't look heroic from the outside. No applause, no witnesses, just you and God in moments of exhaustion where it felt like you were carrying more than your share of the burden. Some days you were David walking toward Goliath with nothing but obedience and trust. Other days you felt like Job, stripped of stability, watching familiar comforts disappear one by one while still being asked to believe that restoration was coming. These were spiritual confrontations, not just emotional ones. Forces you couldn't see were reacting to a destiny they couldn't stop. What makes this moment so powerful is that you're still standing. That alone is proof of divine strength working through you. You didn't win by being louder. You didn't overcome by becoming like those who hurt you. You endured. You waited. You learned restraint when revenge would have felt justified. You chose growth when bitterness would have been easier. And heaven took notice. Scripture says God is not blind to injustice, and he is not deaf to the cries of the faithful. Every whisper you released in private carried more power than the noise of those who tried to speak against you publicly. There were times when it felt like your enemies were always one step ahead, like doors kept opening for them while yours stayed locked. That perception was part of the test. While you were focused on survival, God was focused on alignment. You weren't being delayed, you were being shielded from premature exposure. If certain blessings had arrived earlier, they would have crushed you instead of crowned you. God doesn't rush what needs roots, and you were growing roots in places no one else could see. Now here's where the shift begins to feel undeniable. The same people who once felt powerful around you are suddenly restless. Their confidence is cracking, not because you changed, but because heaven did. When God decides to move, the atmosphere changes first. That's why you might notice subtle signs, unexpected distance, awkward silence, strange behavior, fear disguised as arrogance. They sense that something they built on manipulation, jealousy, or deceit can't survive much longer. And it can't. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It exposes it. God saw everything, not just the actions, but the intentions, the whispered conversations, the calculated moves, the moments when they smiled at you while hoping you'd fail. God didn't miss a thing. And unlike people, He doesn't forget patterns. What you're witnessing now is divine accuracy, not emotional reaction, precision, timing, justice unfolding in a way that leaves no confusion about who defended you. And I need you to understand this because it will anchor you when things start moving quickly. Your enemy's trembling is not your responsibility. Their downfall is not your task. You are not meant to gloat, explain, or even engage. Your role is to rise, to stay aligned, to remain humble and grounded while heaven restores what was taken. God never elevates someone just so they can look down on others. He elevates them so they can finally breathe. There's a reason your spirit feels stronger now, even after everything you endured. It's because something in you is unbreakable. You were tested in fire and came out refined, not ruined. The attacks didn't drain you the way they were meant to. They activated something ancient, something resilient, something deeply connected to God's purpose for your life. And that's why this season feels different. You're no longer fighting for survival. You're moving toward alignment. As this rise begins, expect shifts you didn't initiate, invitations you didn't chase, opportunities that feel divinely timed instead of forced. And yes, expect your name to come up in rooms you were never invited into. God has a way of defending you publicly when you chose to suffer privately. The same voices that tried to mute you will either go silent or be forced to acknowledge what God has done. But let me ground you here, because excitement without wisdom can destabilize you. Stay calm, stay steady, stay close to God. When justice arrives, it can feel overwhelming. Emotions rise, old wounds resurface. That's normal. Healing isn't linear, and breakthroughs often reopen memories before they close chapters. But don't confuse the discomfort of transition with danger. You're not being pulled backward. You're shedding what no longer fits your next season. Your strength was never about overpowering others. It was about outlasting darkness without letting it destroy your character. And you did that. You passed the exam when no one was grading you. Now the results are being released. Not because you demanded answers, but because the time has come. Something is unfolding right now that will make the past make sense. Not all at once, and not in the way you expected, but in a way that confirms one truth beyond all doubt. God has been with you the entire time, and the rise that's beginning won't just change your circumstances. It will change how everyone around you understands your story. There comes a moment when God stops working quietly and starts working publicly, and you are approaching that line right now. Justice is no longer being prepared behind the scenes. It's stepping into the open where it cannot be denied or rewritten. For a long time, truth sat patiently while lies made noise. But noise has an expiration date. Truth doesn't rush because it knows it will be standing when everything else collapses. What you're about to witness isn't chaos. It's order being restored. You may feel a strange mix of peace and intensity inside you lately. That's because your spirit recognizes what your mind is still catching up to. A reversal is forming. What was tilted against you is being balanced. What was taken unfairly is being returned in unexpected ways. And what others tried to bury is rising, not quietly, but visibly. God doesn't just correct situations, He redeems narratives. When He moves, it becomes clear who was walking in integrity and who was operating in fear and manipulation. This is the part of the journey where people begin to see what you endured instead of questioning why you struggled. The same story that once worked against you is about to work for you. Not because you rehearsed it, but because God knows how to highlight truth without exaggeration. You won't need to announce what happened. Circumstances will announce it for you. Patterns will be exposed, motives will surface, and suddenly, situations that never made sense will click into place for those who once doubted you. But here's the deeper layer most people don't talk about. Justice isn't only about your enemies being revealed. It's about you being healed. Because carrying unacknowledged pain for too long can quietly shape how you see yourself. Even when you move forward, part of you might still expect resistance, rejection, or loss. God is not just correcting the external imbalance. He's mending the internal fractures. He's reminding your nervous system what safety feels like again. He's teaching your heart how to trust without bracing for impact. This reversal is not accidental, it's intentional. You planted good seeds in hostile soil, and you wondered why nothing seemed to grow. What you didn't realize is that God was protecting the harvest from being consumed by the wrong hands. Now the ground has shifted, the environment has changed, and growth that was delayed is about to be accelerated in ways that feel surreal. What takes others years may take you moments, not because you're special in human terms, but because divine timing compresses what endurance has already earned. You might notice something else happening too. Your reactions are changing. Where you once felt triggered, you now feel clarity. Where bitterness could have taken root, compassion replaced it. Not because you approved of the harm done to you, but because you outgrew the need to carry it. That's healing. And healing is dangerous to systems that feed on your pain. A healed person no longer participates in the same dynamics, and that alone shifts power structures dramatically. God is about to show you that vindication doesn't come with noise. It comes with alignment. You will be in the right place at the right time, saying the right things effortlessly. Opportunities will feel less draining. Relationships will feel safer, and decisions that once confused you will feel obvious. That's how you'll know justice is active. Confusion is a sign of warfare. Clarity is a sign of victory. And now here's the invitation part of this moment. Because you're not meant to just listen passively. You're meant to agree with what God is doing. Agreement isn't effort, it's alignment. It's choosing not to shrink when things start going right. It's allowing yourself to receive without guilt. It's releasing the need to explain yourself to people who already formed conclusions without facts. Let this be the season where you stop interrupting miracles with self-doubt. If this message resonates with you, don't brush it off. Engage it. In your own way, right where you are, acknowledge that something is changing. You can say it out loud or quietly in your heart, but declare that you are ready to walk into what God prepared, not just survive what He rescued you from. That declaration shifts you from endurance mode into receiving mode. And listen, receiving might feel unfamiliar at first. You're used to fighting for everything, protecting yourself, being vigilant. But victory asks you to unlearn certain survival habits. It asks you to trust again, selectively, wisely, but genuinely. God isn't calling you to be naive. He's calling you to be open without being exposed, strong without being hardened, confident without being loud. What's about to happen will confirm something deep inside you that you've sensed all along. Your story didn't stall because you lacked effort. It slowed because it required precision. And now the precision is complete. Justice is moving. Restoration is unfolding. And the life you're stepping into isn't a consolation prize for suffering. It's a continuation of purpose, refined and reinforced. So stay grounded, stay grateful, stay present. Because when God reveals justice, it doesn't just silence your enemies. It amplifies your life in the ways that feel deeply right, deeply earned, and divinely protected. At some point, you start asking deeper questions, not just about what happened to you, but why it happened the way it did. Why the attacks felt so personal. Why the resistance came from people who saw your heart up close. Why just being yourself seemed to trigger insecurity in others. These questions aren't signs of doubt anymore. They're signs of awakening. You're no longer trying to escape the pain. You're trying to understand the pattern, and understanding is where real freedom begins. The truth is, the attacks you faced were never random. They followed a specific psychological and spiritual logic. People don't try to break what they don't perceive as valuable. They don't sabotage what doesn't reflect something they lack. Your light didn't offend because it was loud. It offended because it was authentic. In a world trained to wear masks, authenticity feels threatening. When someone sees you living from the inside out, it forces them to confront the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be. And not everyone is ready for that confrontation. Here's one of the paradoxical laws you've been living under without realizing it. The more peaceful you became, the more chaotic others grew around you. The more grounded you were, the more they tried to destabilize you. That's not coincidence. That's contrast. Stability exposes instability without saying a word. Integrity exposes manipulation without making accusations. And the moment you stop participating in unhealthy dynamics, people who benefited from your compliance feel exposed. Some of the hostility you faced came from projection. Others placed their unresolved shame, envy, or fear onto you because it was easier than facing it within themselves. If they could label you, misunderstand you, or reduce you, they didn't have to grow. And when that strategy failed, when you kept evolving despite their efforts, they escalated. What they didn't realize is that escalation only drew heaven's attention faster. From a psychological perspective, people who feel powerless often attempt to control perception. This is why false narratives spread easily. This is why silence can be misinterpreted. And this is why your restraint looked like weakness to those who only understand force. But spiritually, restraint is mastery. It means you trusted a higher system of justice even when immediate gratification tempted you to intervene. Another paradox you lived through is this: the very isolation that wounded you is what clarified your mission. Without constant noise, you learned how to hear God's voice more clearly. Without outside validation, you learned how to validate yourself through obedience rather than approval. You discovered that being alone did not mean being abandoned. It meant being refined. And refinement doesn't happen in crowds. It happens in stillness. Your soul's mission couldn't be fulfilled with the old version of you. It required depth, discernment, the ability to move quietly without explaining yourself. Some callings require you to be hidden because visibility too early attracts interference. God didn't hide you to limit you. He hid you to protect what He placed inside you. Now you're emerging with eyes open, heart guarded, and spirit strengthened. And here's another layer most people overlook. Your enemies didn't just misjudge your strength. They miscalculated God's loyalty to you. They assumed silence meant indifference. Delay meant denial. But God's justice operates outside of human ego. He allows time so patterns can fully reveal themselves. By the time He intervenes, there is no room for debate, only recognition. This is why the exposure unfolding now feels so complete. It's not random events, it's alignment, situations converging, truth meeting timing. When people finally see what you knew all along, there will be no satisfaction in saying, "I told you so." Instead, there will be relief, closure, the quiet peace of knowing you were never crazy for sensing what you sensed. Your psychology has changed too, whether you realize it yet or not. You're less reactive, more observant. You don't rush to defend your character because you no longer outsource your identity. That's power. When someone can't provoke you into emotional chaos, they lose leverage. And loss of leverage is often what triggers collapse in unjust dynamics. All of this connects directly to your soul's mission. You're not here just to win personal battles. You're here to embody a different way of being. One that doesn't mirror harm, but transcends it. One that shows strength without cruelty, confidence without arrogance, and faith without performance. Your life is meant to be evidence that healing is possible, that integrity survives pressure, and that divine justice doesn't need human assistance to succeed. As this understanding settles in, you may feel a strange compassion rise within you, even for those who hurt you. Not because what they did was acceptable, but because you see the limitation they're trapped in. Compassion doesn't excuse behavior. It releases you from being emotionally entangled with it. You're not stepping into your next season naive or unguarded. You're stepping into it informed, aware, and aligned. You know the patterns now. You recognize the signs, and that awareness will guide you as God positions you into spaces where your presence heals more than it threatens. This clarity didn't come easily. It was earned, and it's preparing you for a life that finally makes sense, not because it's easy, but because it's honest. Purpose doesn't scream, it resonates, and yours is beginning to resonate in ways the world can no longer ignore. Is this conversation helpful so far? Now pause for a moment and let this truth land gently, not as something you have to prove or defend, but as something you are allowed to accept. You are still the chosen one, not because of how far you've come outwardly, but because of how deeply you stayed aligned inwardly. After everything you've walked through, after all the tests that tried to redefine you, your identity remains intact. That alone tells the story. God preserved you when circumstances tried to distort you, and preservation is one of the clearest signs of divine purpose. As you move forward from here, life will not suddenly become perfect or effortless, but it will become clearer. The chaos that once surrounded your decisions is lifting. The constant need to look over your shoulder is fading. You're learning how to rest without fear that something will fall apart if you stop striving. That rest isn't laziness, it's trust, and trust is the foundation of peace. You're not losing momentum, you're gaining stability. What's ahead of you carries a different energy. Conversations will feel honest again. Relationships will feel reciprocal instead of draining. Opportunities will arrive that don't require you to shrink, perform, or betray your values to access them. When things align like this, it's because God is arranging your environment to match the person you've become. You no longer fit in spaces built on confusion, competition, or hidden motives. And that's not rejection, that's redirection into something healthier. You may still feel echoes of the past from time to time, old fears knocking quietly, old memories resurfacing when you least expect them. That doesn't mean you're moving backward. It means your healing is integrating. Each echo that arises and passes without controlling you is proof that you are no longer bound to those experiences. They no longer dictate your choices. They no longer shape your worth. You carry them as lessons, not identities. I want you to hear this with gentleness, not pressure. You don't need to rush into the future. The breakthrough is already in motion. You don't need to convince anyone. What's meant for you is locating you naturally. When God decides to elevate, He does it in a way that feels steady, not chaotic. You'll recognize it by the peace that comes with it, even when the changes are big. If your heart is open right now, this is your moment to respond, not with performance, but with quiet agreement. You can simply say, "I'm ready to walk in what God has prepared for me without fear." That's it. That willingness matters. Faith doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers yes. And if this message has spoken to you, if something inside you softened or strengthened as you listened, stay connected to that. Let it guide your next steps. Reflect. Pray. And if you feel called, share this with someone who needs to be reminded that their silence, their patience, their endurance were not in vain. Light multiplies when it's shared. Remember, you are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are exactly where you need to be for what comes next. God's timing has a way of restoring more than what was lost. It restores confidence, faith, vision, and those are things no one can take from you again. So walk forward steadily, with humility, with courage, with discernment. You don't need to prove that you're chosen. Your life will speak for itself. And as you step into this new chapter, may you carry the quiet assurance that you are protected, guided, and deeply loved. Until the next moment of clarity, stay grounded and keep your heart open.